Hi, this is Autumn Mann, and I'm with Encounter Ministries. And today I am starting a new YouTube series on taking your mountains. And you know that each one of us who are believers in Jesus, we have mountains that we face in life. And sometimes these mountains are impossible adversities, trouble that's coming against us. Sometimes it's impossible circumstances. Maybe you have a huge dream from God and you have no idea how you're ever going to accomplish that in your own strength. It's a mountain. Some of us have promises from the Lord over our lives that are so much bigger than you, that the very promise of what God has said He will do seems like a mountain to you that cannot be moved, and how could you ever enter into it? But this is one thing that's for sure. You were born to be a mountain mover. You were born to be a conqueror in Christ Jesus. And Matthew 17:20 says that if you have faith just the size of a mustard seed, right here, I have some mustard seeds. Oh my goodness, they're so tiny. Right there, can you see it? It's that little itty bitty tiny seed. And the Lord said, if you have faith the size of a mustard seed, of this little pebble, that you can move mountains. And it actually says in that same verse, Matthew 17:2, that nothing will be impossible for you. So I see from studying the scriptures that faith and mountain moving go hand in hand. They are so related. And so I want to give you some principles, some practical principles for how to grow in your faith and become a mountain mover. Unfortunately, I feel like I've spent a lot of my life being an expert at having little faith. I have had serious problems with faith throughout my adult life and actually my teenage years even. And by the grace of God, I have gotten up when I fell down, and I've made it a matter of prayer. And I said, Lord, teach me how to have great faith. And I'm a work in progress, as are you, I'm sure. But in that process, the Lord has given me many, many principles for walking in faith. And I want to share them with you. I want this to be the beginning of a new day in your own faith journey, because you have mountains to move. And so let's start building that faith muscle so you can get the job done. Okay? So the first principle that I want to give to you today is, I call it the principle of using what's in your hand. Using what's in your hand. See, in Matthew 14 is this amazing story about Jesus and the disciples feeding the 5,000. It's a very interesting story. They're all tired. They're all exhausted. The disciples, Jesus. But the Lord had so much compassion on these people who were following around, that He had been healing their sick and teaching them for hours and hours and hours. And it was a long day, and everyone was hungry. And so the disciples said, just send them away so they can get something to eat. And the Lord looked at them in verse 14, and He says, or verse 16 of chapter 14, and He says, why don't you feed them? Now, their reply to Him was, we only have 5 loaves and 2 fish. I mean, in reality, they didn't even have enough food to feed 2 people, because the Jewish bread was like a flat bread, something more like a pita or a tortilla. It would be like saying, I've got 5 tortillas and 2 small pieces of fish. I don't even have enough to feed 3 people, let alone 5,000. But the Lord asked a question there. He didn't say, what don't you have? He said, what do you have? What do you have? You feed them. And so they gave Jesus their 5 loaves and 2 fish. And He touched the little thing they had in their hand and multiplied it. And 5,000 men, plus women and children, were fed on that one day. This is the most beautiful and inspiring story for those of us who are staring at our mountain and wondering, how is that mountain going to ever be moved? How am I ever going to conquer? How am I ever going to accomplish this impossible thing before me? The question is not, what don't you have? It's, what do you have? What has God given you in your hand? See, God is going to get so much glory out of your story. He's going to get so much glory out of your story. And the reason why he's going to get so much glory is because it wasn't in your strength. It wasn't in your might. It wasn't because of your great ability, but it was because of his great might and his great ability. We take our little natural, our little thing that we have in the natural to work with, our gift, our talent, our money, whatever it is, it's not enough, but we still take it. We give it to the Lord, and he adds his super to our natural, and things start happening. That is a principle for how to move your mountain. You cannot focus on what you don't have. Instead, the question is, Lord, what have you given me? And help me give it back to you and use it completely. Completely. You see this again illustrated beautifully in 2 Kings chapter 4. And it's a story of Elisha and the starving widow. He comes upon this widow. She has 2 sons, and her husband was a great man of God, but he has died. They fell into complete poverty, and the creditors are coming. And she tells Elisha her story that the creditors are coming and have threatened to take her sons into slavery to help pay off the debt. Just every mother watching this video, put yourself in that woman's place for just a moment. She has no income. She has no way to make any income. She has 2 dear sons, all she has in this life. And she has such a debt that she is staring the possibility of her creditors coming and stealing her sons away and putting them into slavery to pay off her debt. That is one big mountain that stood in front of that woman. And when she came to Elisha and she said, please help me, this is what he says to her. He says, what do you want me to do for you, woman? Then he says, tell me, what do you have in your house? That's an interesting question. He didn't say, I don't know what he would have said, but he says, what do you have in your house? And she tells him, I have 1 flask of olive oil left. That's it. And so he gives her a plan. He says, go tell your sons to go door to door, get every empty vessel and jar you can beg and borrow with all your neighbors, and shut the door behind you and start pouring that 1 little flask. Start pouring it and pouring and pouring and pouring. And you know the story that she kept pouring and she kept pouring, and her flask of olive oil never ran out as long as she had a vessel to pour it into. And then Elijah told her, now go and sell the olive oil, pay off your debt, and live off the rest. That story illustrates so beautifully the power of giving God what's in your hand, what's in your house, what's in your life. That woman could have said, I only have a flask of olive oil. It's not enough. It's just not enough. Why are you telling me to do this crazy thing? What I have isn't enough. But instead, she obeyed the word of the Lord. And God multiplied the thing that she had, and he made it enough. And friends, that's how we conquer mountains. We give God what's in our hands, and we stand back in awe as we watch him multiply it and add his supernatural aspects to it. And then all of a sudden, mountains are moved because we've given God everything that's in our hands. And he says, if you're going to give me everything in your hand, then let me release a few things from my hands. And God has all the power, and he can do anything. He's just waiting for someone to partner with him. Someone who will give him what's in their hand. Faith, it doesn't grow in a vacuum. Faith grows in an atmosphere of resistance. Faith grows when you're in a place where you have to take risk. Faith grows when you're in need. That's when your faith will grow. It's like a muscle. I really like going to the gym. I like lifting weights. I just like that. One thing about lifting weights, your muscles, they don't grow until you put some resistance against them. That's when your muscle starts growing, is when you increase the weight. And then you are pressing and pushing something that you didn't think that you could press or push. Faith is the same way. Faith, it doesn't grow in a vacuum. It grows when you put some weight on it. It grows when you use it. It grows when there's resistance and there's a mountain you don't think you can conquer, and you have to use that little bit in your hand, and all of a sudden you see your God come through for you, and now your faith has grown. I want to share with you a couple stories, a couple testimonies that have been very powerful in my life, and just great examples, and really just want to give glory to God for a few things that He's done in my life using this principle. Years and years ago, I started really giving myself to studying biblical dream interpretation. Many of you who are watching this video may have visited my website, or you may have watched the other YouTube videos that I've done on dream interpretation. I'll probably make more in the future. Years and years ago, when I first started really leaning into that and learning, I remember I really felt like I needed to take everything that God had given me and to try to organize it into something that would be like a student manual or a teaching manual, where people could look through something in an organized way and see it as a study on dream interpretation from a biblical perspective. And so the Lord has given me that gift. He's given me a gift to organize material and to make it teachable. And so I was asking God, please help me with this. And I had my first dream seminar I was ever going to do, and I said, I'm going to write my own manual and give it to everybody who comes, and I'm going to teach from it, and this is what I'm going to do. And it was my very first time ever doing it. I was so nervous, and I was so insecure. I was so insecure that after I created this manual, I took it to a print shop. It came out beautifully. I had it printed, but it cost me like $400 or $500. I had to put it on my credit card because I didn't have the money, and I was so insecure about what I had produced, about what I had worked on, that I wouldn't charge anybody for it. And I didn't charge anybody for that first dream seminar or the manual because I was so insecure, completely insecure about it, and didn't know if it was even worth anything. That's just how things start out a lot of times. And God, by His grace, came in and saved my neck, and He just moved supernaturally on people's hearts to give money at that and covered the expense for the manuals, and He built my faith through it. Well, after I started doing this for a while and doing seminars, and it started becoming so rich for people. I could see it changing people's lives as it had mine. I could see it impacting people, and I said, Lord, I want to put this all on a website. And I had this idea. I said, I want a website. I want to call it unlockingyourdreams.org. I want to put everything that You've given me on this website for free. So audio teaching, of the seminar and the manual, and I'll put a dream dictionary on there and other materials. And I told the Lord, I said, if You will give me the money to create this website, to have someone else create it, because I didn't have the ability to do that, the skill set. So I said, if You give me the money, I will do it, and I'll make everything free. And then You, Lord, You can do whatever You want to do with that thing. And so I started saving, and I got $400. I believe it was $400. And 400 was enough to hire a good friend of mine to create this website called unlockingyourdreams.org. Now, that website, I was really happy with it. I was like, I liked how it looked. All the material was on there, but it was completely buried on the internet. When you would Google search dreams, biblical dreams, dream dictionary, my website was seriously like 10 pages buried. I couldn't even find it myself when I would search it. And so I told the Lord, I said, well, God, I don't know if You're ever going to use this in a significant way, but I have given You my fish and loaves. Everything that You gave me, everything I had in my hands, I have given back to You as a gift. And now, Lord, it's up to You whether You want it to bless Your people or not. Well, a couple years went by, and to be honest, I barely thought about the website. Whenever I did do a dream seminar or something like that, I would tell people about it for them to utilize it, and so I figured, well, at least 10 people are probably visiting it every once in a while, right? And one day I was in a prayer meeting, and the Lord interrupted my thoughts, and He very forcefully said, Autumn, what if I told you international ministry? It, it really took me back. We pastor a small church in a rural area. I mean, we have to drive 120 miles to go to an airport. I mean, international ministry was not on my brain at that moment. And I said, well, it was so forceful though. And I knew it was the Holy Spirit. I just said, Lord, you can do anything you want. If you wanted to use me on an international scale, then you could do that. You're the God that takes little shepherd boys and puts them on the throne, like King David. You can do anything you want. And so I say yes to that. A few hours passed. I was still in that same prayer meeting. And again, the Lord said, Autumn, what if I said international ministry to you? I said, Lord, you can do anything you want. I say yes to whatever your plan is. I just know you can do anything. I don't know how you would do that. I don't have a plan for that. I don't have any ideas about that. But if you want it to happen, Lord, it's a mountain that I know you can move and you can make happen. Well, a few months passed by and I started receiving emails from people asking me to interpret their dreams from all over the world, Australia, Israel, Africa. And I thought, how are these people finding my website? I was like, God, there's got to be just a few people that are stumbling onto my website and they happen to be emailing me. But I thought, how strange. I mean, that everyone who comes to my site would email me. And I don't know how these people all over the world are even finding this site because I thought it was still buried. I had it, you don't Google your own website every day. It's up, it's running. I don't even think about it anymore. Well, one day, a young lady from our church was over at our house, and I told her what was happening, that I was getting these emails from all over the world, and I said, I'm just kind of wondering what's happening with my website. And she was super young and techie, and she says, I can put a tracker on your website. You can see immediately how many people are finding your website every single day and what countries they're from. And so, like that, she had Google Analytics put on the backside of my website and opened it up. And to my shock, at that time, hundreds of people every day from all over the world were coming to get equipped on dreams. Overnight, the Lord took a hidden $400 little website that I gave to the Lord that was hidden in the Google, honestly, it was so hidden. Nobody could find it in the Google world when they tried to search for it. And the Lord sovereignly, that's another story how he did it. I didn't do anything. God sovereignly took it and made it one of the #1 searches for biblical dream interpretation that's on the internet. God did that. Today, I just checked before I made this video, there's 1,200 to 1,300 people a day coming on unlockingyourdreams.org to utilize the free dream dictionary, to listen to teaching, to read articles, to listen to the latest sermon that I have preached. That website is a sign and a wonder. And you know what it is? It's a testimony of how God can take your little fish and loaves and make it into something great. He can do something with your fish and loaves that even you will stand in wonder over. And God gets so much glory from our story when we can just give him everything. So I encourage you right now, what are the mountains that you're going after? What are the dreams in your heart that are bigger than you, that you can't do on your own? And the next question is, now what do you have in your hand? Are you using it? Are you using what God placed in your hand? Don't tell me what you don't have. Don't tell me what you need. Tell me what God's given you and start using it. And when you start using it, God will start multiplying it. This has been Autumn Mann. Again, I'm with Encounter Ministries. I encourage you, if you want more resources on dreams, but also on all different kinds of ways of growing in God, I encourage you to visit my website, www.unlockingyourdreams.org. And thanks for tuning in, and I will see you again later. Bye-bye.